Well, thank you, James. And I must say, on behalf of all the local nature partnerships, we are absolutely delighted to be here. It's very timely in all sorts of ways. The most recent talk that Simon Stevens gave at the University of Exeter last week was around pressure. And we know we're all under pressure, the environment's under pressure, the health service is under pressure. But it was also about being proud, and I think we should be very proud that we've actually come together today and that people have come from such a long way away. And we are going to hear about some fantastic examples of the natural environment and the health sector getting together. We also want to talk about possibilities. And you will notice that on your tables, you have a little postcard that says, what 3 actions are you going to do as a result of today's conference? And it would be brilliant if those were all combined and actually then shared with us. So we've got a huge amount of skill and experience and ideas in this room. Let's make sure we use them. So a little bit about local nature partnerships. I am the chair of Natural Devon, which is the Devon Local Nature Partnership. And we have local nature partnerships here from most of the south of England, I think, and particularly the southwest. We have 48 local nature partnerships, which actually coincide quite nicely with your footprint areas. I can't remember what the actual term is for them now. Local, thank you, yes. So, and that's all about local delivery, and it's all about integration. So, hooray. We in Devon and many other local nature partnerships have for a few years now been working with our natural health and public health colleagues. And indeed, many local nature partnerships will have directors of public health, etc., on their boards. And we have found that when we actually get natural health and environmental professionals in the same room, ideas start to flow. So that's what we're hoping today. And just some examples, in Devon, we have actually commissioned some research about barriers to the natural environment. These are all on our website. We've run a week last year on Devon's Natural Health Service, which was lots of events. We've run a month this year, 74 events, being promoted through all sorts of different outlets, etc. And I think we have got a lot of shared objectives. There is a lot of recent research, which we will hear more about today as well, demonstrating the benefits of health and well-being. I've got one here from the wildlife trusts, and there are many, many other examples. I think one of the facts that really hit me when I was looking up background material for this conference was that 1 in 10 children are now obese at the start of primary school. Now, that's shocking enough, but by the time they get to secondary school, 1 in 5 are obese. Now, that's really, really shocking to me, actually. Second fact that I was really interested in is that access to green spaces is one of the few health interventions which reduce health inequalities. And that, to me, again, is really key and is one of the reasons why we're here. And there is more and more publicity about health, increasing population, increasing ageing. Here's one this week, diabetes. Here's one here, obesity. There was a lot of publicity recently, a day or so ago, about dementia. Those are all things that can be helped by access to the natural environment. So today, it's very timely, I think, for win-win implementation. We've got the Social Care Act, we've got the government producing a natural environment plan for the next 25 years, which you may or may not be aware of, and the local nature partnerships in particular are very keen that that actually addresses wider society. And what I should have said in the beginning is that local nature partnerships were set up in order to provide links between the environment and the local enterprise partnerships and health and wellbeing boards, and we do work very closely with those. So, I have 3 objects which are going to demonstrate, I hope, the links between environment and health. Here is the first one. Okay? This is a cooking apple, as you will see. And the link between food and good health is probably pretty obvious to us in this room, but it's not necessarily obvious to everybody. And it certainly isn't necessarily obvious to people who are on a budget. It's not obvious to schools that are providing school meals on a budget, but it's actually really important. Orchards are also great places for wildlife, and we've got some wonderful community orchards. So there's an opportunity, I think, around food. And local nature partnerships have contacts with farmers, for example. So we have farmer representatives, land managers. We also have NGOs. So we have a lot of links from the primary producers, if you like, to the end point, which we can try and help facilitate. My second object is a dog lead. And I've brought this along so that I can talk about access. And statistics show that when people are asked why they go into the countryside and what for, what do they do there, the majority say they're walking a dog. And there is something there about actually bringing the natural environment to people rather than trying to take people to the natural environment. So if people are going to walk their dog, they want somewhere local. They don't want to have to drive 20 miles to a national park. They might do that for a holiday or at a weekend, but when it's dark and raining and it's after work, they're not going to do that. But it also demonstrates the complexity of access and the fact that we need to be as inclusive as possible and think about our audiences. I remember a few years ago talking to a group of Asian women in Birmingham and asking them what they thought about the countryside and what the barriers were to going out in the countryside. And one of the things they said was a fear of dogs. And that's quite interesting because if you know that, then there are ways that you can deal with that. And dogs are great. We all know the benefits of having a pet and all this sort of stuff. But actually, there's something about where dogs go and what they do and how they behave and how they don't impinge on other users. So that was quite interesting. Sorry about that. And my third object is a blanket. Now, this is about being inclusive. Again, it's about working together and it's about communities. And one of the things that we really want to work on and that we can do through things like green infrastructure, if we get it right, is to look at community health. And so we have blankets, we work together, and we're inclusive, and we use this thing called intelligent kindness that you've probably all heard of, which is actually about preventing and maintaining people's physical and mental health. So I think those are areas where we can actually work very closely together, and I'm looking forward to the day very much. The LMPs are really keen, as I've said, to work with you, and we want to help people to make healthy choices. So we want to provide the opportunities for that. We offer links across sectors, across the environmental sector, the people who are actually providing the opportunities. Simple things like changing styles to gates can make all the difference, particularly if they're close to a village or a town or whatever. But it's going to be a country park, for example, or a local authority that puts that in place, but they need to know that. So the environmental sector, I think, needs to know from the health sector what it is that you need, and we can help to provide it. And I think it's not going to be free. I think we can save money, and that's what we're all trying to do. I think access to the natural environment can actually help a lot in reducing the expenditure on health, but it isn't absolutely free. So we will need to put some money into infrastructure. We will need to put some money into people, into facilitators, etc. But it's exciting. And I think the key question is, how can we scale up the work that we're already doing for the benefit of healthy people and healthy places? And I look forward very much to today.